Premier Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, OBE, Miss Ingrid Moses Catliff, Speaker of the House, Honorable Dolores Christopher, Representative of the 5th District and Member of the House of Assembly, Mr. Rinal Baldio Singh, Interim Secretary General of the Caribbean Postal Union, Ms. Owena Bipo Price, Regional Project Coordinator of the Universal Postal Union, Mr. Timothy Otto, Deputy Program Manager, Services Sector Development, CARICOM, Mr. Paul Hilaire, Permanent Secretary, Caribbean Customs Law Enforcement Council. Delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the 18th Annual Caribbean Postal Union Conference, and welcome to the British Virgin Islands. At this time, we're going to call the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance, the Minister responsible for Postal Services, Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, OBE. Welcome him as he comes.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good morning, friends, and welcome to the British Virgin Islands. First, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Speaker of the House of Assembly of the BVI, Mrs. Ingrid Moses, and the Honorable Dolores Christopher, the member for the 5th District and the BVI. Thank you for coming. I'd also like to recognize the presence of the CPU General Secretary, Mr. Baldio Singh. And of course, at the head table is Ms. Tasha Stoutt, the BVI Postmistress. I'm delighted that we're able to host this year's Caribbean Postal Union Conference and be the venue at which the future of the Postal Service in the Caribbean region can be discussed and planned. Indeed, the issues that we are faced with are varied and critical. But we should ensure that the network of administration throughout the region and globally not only exists into the foreseeable future, but is efficient and able to compete with other services that have been able to capitalize on the more profitable sectors of postal activities. Postal administrations are essential. They provide a link between nations across borders at the most effective rates possible, act as facilitators for intra and international trade, and in this modern, fast-paced environment, provide business services to the farthest corners of the world. Despite the fact that there are advanced telecommunication systems in the more advanced territories and nations of the world, postals remain relevant. However, in this environment, we must retool ourselves so that not only will the vulnerable in our society be serviced, but that through the technological advances that are available to us, we can provide a type of logistical services that only a network as expansive and interconnected as the global postal network headed by the Universal Postal Union can provide. Several challenges face the post today. One of these challenges is the harnessing of electronic systems to facilitate express mail. In the BVI, we are currently in a position to take advantage of the electronic tracking software in the form of IPS and Prime, a customer service software package that allows us to maintain a high level of service to our customers by tracking express mail and keeping track of parcels and registered mail. In this era, there's also the threat of heightened global terrorism. And we must recognize that postal administrations have deeply relevant roles to play in national security, as we serve as an avenue through which goods are moved across borders. In the BVI, we have taken a proactive stance to ensure that the integrity of the post office's mandate is not compromised, and that we are not being used to facilitate the movement of controlled and illegal substances of firearms, ammunition, and explosives into and through the British Virgin Islands. We have moved significantly in this regard, and in the coming months and years, will continue to do so. I urge all my colleagues today to continue on this track, and where you have not done so, to invest significant effort in doing so. Pursuant to this very real issue of security, we also recognize the need for postal administrations to forge strong alliances with the border control agencies on our territories, in order that the realm of security around our borders could be ever easier to manage and control. In the BVI, for example, we are intent on developing a closer and mutually respectful relationship with our customs and police agencies to achieve just that. In addition to the enhanced security measures, we must ensure that our officers are trained to the highest levels in all areas of postal activity. We, for example, see the need for basic or even advanced training in business, accounting, and logistics. And we, in this regard, we are very pleased with the work of the Caribbean Postal Training Center. The BVI has benefited from this center, and we will continue to send our postal officers there for training. And it is my hope that the training in this center will remain relevant and at the cutting edge of what is needed and required by postal administrations in the present and into the future. Finally, I continue to be concerned with the challenges we face in the transportation of mail. This is perhaps the weakest part of our logistical network, since we do not own the means of transport. Yet we must conform to exacting service delivery standards that depend on this transportation. My hope is that the air and sea carriers of the day can be sensitized to the basic commitment by nations across the world to provide individuals with at least basic postal service, and that their sense of corporate responsibility will prevail on the transportation of mail at minimal cost to postal administrations will become a fundamental part of their business models. In closing, I'd like to again welcome you to the BVI, invite you to visit many interesting and I dare say spectacular places we have on the main island of Tortola and also on the sister islands across the waters. I also hope that this conference will bring much progress through lively and frank discussions, and that on leaving the BVI, we will have crystallized ideas and positions for consideration at the next Universal Postal Union Conference in Turkey in 2016. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call the CPU Secretary General, Mr. Rinal Baldev Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin Smith, former Postmaster General of BVI. Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, Premier and Minister of Finance of BVI. Other government officials here this morning, all protocols being observed. My colleague, Ms. Tasha Stoutt, Postmaster of the BVI, representatives of all agencies and postal operations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the 18th Annual Conference of the Caribbean Postal Union. As I welcome you here today, I know that over the next 2 days, we would be looking at ways of optimizing what is already in place for Post and the development of Post in the region. And as the Premier mentioned, the quest for efficient multimodal transportation among the islands. It is hoped that with the air of the Premier and the other officials that speak at the level of CARICOM, that we could move this region from the thought of being a series of islands separated to a series of cities separated by air and sea. So that one day when mail drops into the Caribbean, within 2 days or 1 day, it could be delivered. To do that, we would require the collective ideas and approaches of all here, including the people who come from other parts of the world We must always appreciate that we live in a developing region, and that what occurs for e-commerce in the developed world may not always be applicable here, in that many of our merchants are not e-commerce ready. They do not have a web page to go on to buy. So our challenges may be unique, but the quest for service, for day plus one delivery, for efficient and effective financial services remain the same globally. So this morning, as I welcome you, I thank you for your participation. I thank the Premier and the people of the BVI for their warm welcome, for their hospitality, and for arranging the welcome address that is so important this morning to us. And I hope for our success over the next 2 days. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear remarks from the host postmaster, Miss Tasha Stoutt.
Acknowledge the protocol that's already been established. Good morning. I am delighted to have you here to participate and share in the 18th Annual Caribbean Postal Union Conference. Thank you all for coming. The fact that many of you traveled long distances serves to remind us all of how very important our work really is. The Caribbean Postal Union is committed to actively monitoring the development and modernization of postal services in its member countries, while drafting prioritized actions to improve operations and relations with members and non-members alike, further seeking the necessary external support through certain inter-country and national bodies to provide technical support. This year, our theme is the future of the post, postal harmonization and sustainability. Thanks to the CPU, we are all very aware of the challenges faced by posts in many spheres, including that of security. The challenge is as pertinent today as it was 10 years ago. It's a concern I know that we all share. The full development of means to detect, deter, and to defend against, while still maintaining the effective and proficient services of the post. As a body, the CPU recognizes that it is at venues like these which fosters relationships with countries, which helps promote inter-country agreements as well as facilitate the correct forum for introducing thought-provoking and fulfilling conversations and collaborative solutions for ongoing improvement and success. Prepare yourselves to be challenged, excited, and inspired. And last but not least, before I close, I would like to say once more, and on behalf of the BVI Posts Organizing Committee and myself, a very warm welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here.
Thank you, Ms. Stoutt. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our opening ceremony for the 18th Caribbean Postal Union Conference. Once again, we would like to thank our Premier for being in attendance and rendering his remarks. We'd like to thank the BVI Post Office and the Postmaster General, Ms. Tasha Stoutt. We'd like to thank Mr. Baldio Singh, Secretary General for the CPU. And we'd like to thank all of you, all of the member countries, for traveling as far as you have, making the time in your busy schedules to be here. We sincerely wish you a very successful and prosperous conference. I hope that you will have very engaging discussions. I know you will this week. And be sure while you're here to get around and see a bit of the beautiful British Virgin Islands, nature's little secret. I guarantee you will not be disappointed that you came. So once again, we're glad to have you. If the postmaster would allow me, I would pop in now and again to make sure that you're being treated well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great week.